set?
She's still sitting down.
Who?
Good evening. It is 7:45 on Monday, July 27th. I'd like to call this meeting of the Lansing City Council to order and ask if the clerk please call the roll.
Councilmember Carter.
Here.
Councilmember Garza.
Here.
Councilmember Hussein.
Here.
Councilmember Cost.
Here.
Councilmember Martinez.
Here.
Councilmember Navarez Martinez.
Here.
Councilmember Pelivanoglu.
Present.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Present.
There are 8 members present, a quorum, and we are to the meditation and pledge of allegiance.
Thank you. Is there anyone that would, Councilmember Cost?
Thank you, President Spatafor. If we could keep the family and friends of Steve Richard in mind. He was an active member of the Prospect Place neighborhood, very active in his many years there, passed away last month. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, if you'd all please rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You have for your approval the council proceedings of July 13th.
Vice President Pelivanoglu.
Thank you. I move the printed council proceedings of July 13th, 2026 as presented.
It's a proper motion. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, we are to special ceremonies and presentations, and we do have 3 appointments as special ceremonies. First one is Jonah Stone to the Arts and Culture Commission.
Councilmember Garza.
Thank you, Council President. So the Development and Planning Committee met on July 20th. The mayor has recommended the appointment of Jonah Stone as a first ward representative on the Arts and Culture Commission for a term ending June 30th, 2029. Is that correct now? Because it was the updated resolution. Mr. Stone is a Lansing resident and serves as a forensic scientist with the Michigan State Police. He holds degrees in human biology and anthropology and has been active in civic organizations and nonprofit work throughout our community. During the community discussion, Mr. Stone shared his passion for expanding Lansing's art and cultural opportunities, particularly by supporting local artists, improving public art throughout the city, and helping preserve and enhance the murals and public spaces along the river trail. He also expressed interest in utilizing the Commission's grant opportunities to encourage local artist investment and strengthen Lansing's identity through arts and culture. The committee unanimously voted to forward this appointment for the full City Council's consideration, and with that, I would move the resolution.
It is proper motion. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Mr. Stone, if you'd like to join us in the well to be sworn in.
Step right up to the mic. Have you raise your right hand and repeat after me?
Okay.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the Office of Arts and Culture Commission member
of the Office of Arts and Culture Commission member
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
All right, congratulations. While we're signing, you are to the Tyson Pumphrey's to the Downtown Lansing Inc. Board.
Councilmember Garza.
All right, thank you. So once again, the Development and Planning Committee met July 20th. The mayor has recommended the appointment of Tyson Pumphrey, also known as Jose Moore, as the business representative on the Downtown Lansing Inc. Board for a term to expire June 30th, 2029. Mr. Pumphrey is the founder and executive director of All of the Above Hip Hop Academy, a longtime Lansing nonprofit focused on youth development, education, mentoring, and community engagement through the arts. During committee discussion, he shared his vision for creating additional opportunities for young people in downtown Lansing and using arts, music, and culture as tools for community development. He discussed the importance of continuing downtown revitalization while ensuring that future investments remain welcoming and inclusive for residents, families, and young people. So the committee unanimously voted to forward this appointment to the full council for review, for final consideration. With that, I would move the resolution.
That is a proper motion. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. Mr. Pumphrey, if you'd like to join us in the hall to be sworn in.
That's fine.
All right, if you could raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of Downtown Lansing, Inc. Board Member
of the office of Downtown Lansing, Inc. Board Member
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
All right, congratulations. And the council is to Colleen Cole to the Lansing Public Media Authority.
Councilmember Palavaglu.
Thank you. Fourth Ward resident Colleen Cole joined the City Committee on City Operations on July 23rd. And we discussed her application for appointment to the Lansing Public Media Authority Board of Commissioners. Now, this is a term to expire on June 30th, 2029. Throughout our conversation, Colleen told us about her experience having worked with MSU, FCU, and her trajectory from working first as a customer service representative, and she now serves in senior leadership there. She has a passion for arts and culture and telling Lansing's story, and she does have the time to commit to this Authority Board of Commissioners. We did vote unanimously to pass the resolution for appointment, and with that, I move the resolution for the appointment of Colleen Cole to the Lansing Public Media Authority Board of Commissioners for a term to expire June 30th, 2029.
Thank you, Vice President Palavaglu. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Cole, you've seen the drill.
Let's see how it's done.
All right.
All right, if you could raise your right hand, repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
of the office of Lansing Public Media Authority Board of Commissioners member.
of the office of Lansing Public Media Authority Board of Commissioner member
Very good. According to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to take some liberties here. We are at comments by council members and the city clerk. Are there any comments from council members? Councilmember Cost.
Yeah, quickly, two things. One, I believe that the weekly schedule went out and it showed a constituent meeting for the First Ward for August 1st. We will not be having, as I previously had posted and stated, any meetings in June, July, or August, so it'll start in September. That will be corrected by tomorrow morning. And then secondly, I would like to use this opportunity to wish my father a very happy birthday today. He is not going to be happy I mentioned age, so I will avoid that. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Cost. Councilmember Palavaglu.
Thank you. In that spirit of celebration, I would like to wish my husband a very happy 13th wedding anniversary. He is not watching right now. I believe he is having a great meal without me, but here's to 13 years of love and laughter. Thank you.
Councilmember Hussein.
Yeah, I wanted actually a couple invitations and maybe a couple comments. First, it's a really exciting time in Southwest Lansing. We celebrated July 14th. All of the things, all of the work that went into making the ongoing project of Pleasant Grove and Homes possible with the Pleasant Grove and Homes project, and also the forthcoming Lansing Growth Fund, which will allow for residents in the area to invest in their community, to have some ownership within their community, and then through an appointed elected board of representatives have some say in terms of what types of investments this particular fund will invest in Southwest Lansing into the future. And so, very exciting time. But with that being said, we also have something taking place at 820 West Miller. This is a project that we have been working to support for quite some time. We know there's an incredibly blighted commercial building at that location. Again, this is at West Miller in South Washington. And the company, Novi Properties, contrary to the name or the belief that precipitates, this is actually a Lansing-based company, proprietors being James Denning and Melissa White. But they have worked incredibly hard, along with the LEDC and the administration and this council and other stakeholders, to get to a point where they are breaking ground. And so there is a groundbreaking ceremony that will take place this Wednesday, July 29th at 10 a.m. These are true Love Lansing developers, proud South Lansing residents. So I certainly hope folks get out to support that. Very, very exciting for that corridor, for that intersection, that neighborhood. Also wanted to give a huge shout out to Ryan Holmes. When we talk about development, we talk about infrastructure, we talk about all these things that move a community forward, placemaking is critical as well. And Ryan Holmes spent a couple days, about a week and a half ago, with some of our youngest citizens across the city, and really shared his love of mural making, but also the skill involved in mural making. And they invested quite a bit of time, quite a bit of resources over at Benjamin Davis. And so that project is done. It's actually on the front side of the concession building. It is beautiful, and I highly encourage folks to get out there and take a look. But just really wanted to thank Ryan for everything he does and continues to do to really shine a light on art, bring people together through art, and do, he does so much in terms of placemaking for our community. So we support him and appreciate him. Wanted to announce that, saw online, we actually have a Lansing Parks and Rec patrol play program. I should say play patrol program. And they are out at Wayne. There are a number of different parks, and they bring different activities and things for the kids to do, and they work to activate a number of our spaces throughout our park system. And they have been coming to Wainwright pretty much all summer from 3 to 6 p.m. on Fridays. And the Churchill Downs Community Association posted on their website that although it's a fantastic program, it has been sparsely attended. So I think a big part of that's just awareness. So I wanted folks to know that that is occurring every single Friday at Wainwright Park, 3 to 6 p.m. Certainly highly encourage folks to get out and enjoy what is a free activity. And then beyond that, I wanted to, speaking of Churchill Downs, just announce that their Youth Day is actually scheduled for this Saturday, August 1st. I know that they have put a ton of work into this. It will be from 1 to 4 p.m. at Wainwright Park. They've listed basketball, water games, field event challenges, bike tune-ups, prizes, snacks, etc. For both kids and family. They are still looking for volunteers. If you're interested, you can simply show up. The work will begin at about 11 in terms of setup, and then cleanup will proceed immediately thereafter, which is around 4. They believe it will be concluded by about 5 p.m. But just a fantastic neighborhood. Continues to do a number of things to try to make that particular neighborhood dynamic and livable. And so we hope if you live in the Churchill Downs area, you get out to support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hussein. Councilmember Martinez.
Yes, I was lucky enough to attend the new Willow School grand opening last week with the superintendent and mayor staff, and neighbors and families who are very excited for this fall. So I just wanted to say congratulations to Northwest Lansing for a beautiful upgrade and addition.
Thank you, Councilmember Martinez. Are there others? Real quick, I was asked to announce this evening, tomorrow, July 28th from 6 to 8 p.m. There is an informational meeting at the Lansing Shuffle to provide more information about the ballot initiative on the August ballot. And also, tomorrow downtown at the Capitol is the Farmers Market, so make sure to stop by there for all the things you can buy and spend some time in downtown Lansing. Moving on, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you. It is election time, so we are just a week and a day from the August primary election. We have issued 22,000 absentee ballots, and we have about fewer than 10,000 of them back. So a lot of people with ballots in their hands. At this point, I'm going to recommend, if you are at all able to use a drop box, make sure you use a drop box in the city of Lansing. Do not use a drop box outside of the city of Lansing, or that clerk will simply be mailing it to me. So if you want to use the mail, but don't only use a Lansing city drop box. We do have early voting going on all the way up through this coming Monday. So for the specific hours, we have 2 locations, 701 West Jolly and the Foster Community Center. For specific hours, you can go to lansingvotes.gov The Monday, the last day, state law requires us to stop at 4 o'clock, so that day is a little bit shorter than the other days, but we are open every day between now and then for early voting. And then, of course, the polls are open on Election Day from 7 a.m. until 8 o'clock p.m. So plenty of time, plenty of opportunities for you to cast your ballot. One additional reminder, this is a partisan primary, and under Michigan law, you can only vote in one party's primary. So if you vote for any Democrats, please do not vote for any Republicans, and vice versa. If you vote for any Republicans, please don't vote for any Democrats. If you do vote in both parties, even if it's different offices, none of your partisan votes will count. Your proposal votes will still count. We do have quite a number of proposals on the ballot, so there's some very important stuff. I encourage you to participate in this election. And if you need more information, you can call 483-4131 or visit lansingvotes.gov. And with that, we are to community event announcements. If there's anyone in the audience with a community event, you have 1 minute to tell us the details.
Okay, the Friends of Lansing's Historic Cemeteries is again this year going to hold a tombstone cleaning workshop, which will be open to the public. We are going to ask for a $10 fee this year, though, to cover the cost of the materials and the equipment that's provided. So it will be held on Saturday, August 15th in Mount Hope Cemetery, beginning at 11 a.m. We'll have information up on our website and our Facebook page soon. And you'll be able to sign up on those two sites for the class. We can take up to 25 participants, so there's a lot of room for people to go ahead and get enlisted on this. We've had a lot of requests over the last several months for us to hold this again, so we are taking that opportunity to do so. Saturday, August 15th, 11 a.m., Mount Hope Cemetery, Tombstone Cleaning Workshop. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
The Old Everett Neighborhood Association will be hosting its annual neighborhood picnic on August 8th from 3 to 7 p.m. at the Debbie Stabenow Park, most likely at the pavilion. You can bring any food or drink you want, but for drinks specifically, it cannot be alcoholic as part of city policy. And you can bring any game you want with you as long as it's easy to clean up, as well as also being family friendly. So nothing like Cards Against Humanity or fill in the blanks are allowed. Okay? That's all I'm going to say. I'll yield the rest of my time.
Thank you. Other community event announcements? All right, moving on then, we are to speaker registration for public comment on legislative matters. That does include also on show cause hearings as well as legislative matters. So we do have 2 show cause hearings. If you received a notice at home about those, you can sign in on the green form in the back. And then on the blue form for the 3 public hearings as well as items, all items 7 through 22 on the agenda, and we'll give you another minute if you haven't already signed in. And with that, we are to the mayor's comments.
Deputy Mayor Mumby.
Thank you very much. Just 2 quick comments. Number 1, if you haven't seen the news, City of Lansing was awarded $1.2 million in a grant to support engineering for future roadway and intersection safety improvements in the area that includes Interstate 96, Pennsylvania, American Road, Cedar Street, and Edgewood Boulevard, also known as IPACE. So that's a study that it's funding, and then whatever the results of that study are would support applications for further grants to do construction. So we will look at that area and try to make it as safe and efficient as we can with the proposal, and then we will be seeking further grants to do construction sometime in the future. Then the other announcement is this is the last week for applications for Citizens Academy. We've had a really good response from residents, and we only have a few slots left, but those close this Friday. And this is a great opportunity to see behind the scenes what happens in city government. That's all. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, we are to public comment on we are to show cause hearings. Items 5 and 6 are orders to make safe or demolish for 431 South Francis and 1217 North Grand River Avenue.
Councilmember Hussein, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Sure. So the first hearing that we have is for 431 South Francis. The listed taxpayers are Gail Garza and Greg Laudenslager. The original red tag date on this particular property was July 5th of 2020. State equalized value for this property is $38,000, and the estimated cost of repairs is $91,731. There was a make safe or demolish hearing in front of a hearing officer on May 5th. At that hearing, they were given 30 days to make safe or demolish, which was not complied with. So it was then conveyed to City Council. As of to date, there's been no building safety permit activity. And should this, the recommendation from the department, I believe, is a 30-day. After tonight, this will be referred back to public safety and will be taken up on August 6th. So that is the first. And the second address is 1217 North Grand River. Listed taxpayer, in this case, is Jonathan Reedy. The original red tag date was January 30th of 2025. State equalized value with regard to this property is $87,000. The estimated cost of repairs is $361,000. It was a hearing in front of a hearing officer on March 24th. They rendered a 60-day make safe or demolish decree, which was not complied with. It was then conveyed to City Council. No building permit activity has been reported to this body as of today. And again, after today, this will be referred to public safety to be listened to and heard on August 6th. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we are to public comment on legislative matters, and as I indicated, that's items 7 through 22 on the printed agenda. Items 7, 8, and 9 are all public hearings on various amendments regarding boards and commissions. Do you want overview?
Yes, please. Councilmember Palavano.
Thank you. I'll just 7, 8, 9 address all of them. So item number 7 is this is public hearing is to amend Title 8 and add Chapter 247, Section 247.01 to 247.04, the transition of city boards and commissions to the ward structure in the current city charter. This will really ramp up, is a ramp up to the 5th ward creation that we will see sometime in the future. The various boards and commissions listed within this amendment are the Arts and Culture Commission, Board of Ethics, Board of Fire Commissioners, Board of Police Commissioners, Board of Public Service, the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Advisory Board, the Human Relations and Community Services Advisory Board, Parks Board, and Planning Commissions. All current appointments will expire June 30th, 2029, or on the date of their original term of appointment, whichever comes first. New terms for appointments will begin July 1st, 2029, and incorporate a 5th ward member. It was noted at our previous meeting that a 5th ward will be created in late 2028. And moving on to the next item, the amendment of Chapter 248, the transition of board and water and light members to the ward structure provided for by the current city charter. Again, this is in an attempt to incorporate that 5th ward that we will be looking forward to. And again, all terms of existing board members will expire on June 30th, 2029, or their expiration date of original term, whichever comes first. And lastly, we have the amendment of Chapter 266 to provide for an 8-member Arts and Culture Commission in accordance with the city charter.
Thank you.
Okay, speakers have up to 3 minutes to address City Council. The first speaker is Mike Smulligan, followed by Ryan Brand.
Good evening, City Council. My apologies for becoming a frequent flyer here, but I saw you have my favorite Monopoly on your agenda, and so I wanted to come spend my Monday evening with you. And I would encourage you to take a close look at the Board of Water and Light. I provided 2 handouts. I hope those have made it way up to the front of the room. The first one, you can see that the Board of Water and Light is currently following the ward structure. But I noticed a couple things looking at their committees, that they don't have any committees on environmental affairs or corporate social responsibility. For such a large utility that is the biggest source of pollution in our city, it would be nice if they were actually paying closer attention to environmental and human affairs of their customers. If you flip over the back of that, you'll see the tenure of the board, and I was surprised to see that at least one board member has been serving for 20 years. A couple other are approaching 15 years, and I would just encourage you as our elected officials, where we as citizens have no means of accountability for the board of Water and Light. So I would encourage you to take a hard look at the board of Water and Light. Do they have the skills? Do they have the courage to regulate the monopoly that is in charge of all of our electric and water bills? And I don't know if you've been paying attention, but the Board of Water and Light is about to raise rates again. That appears to be the best kept secret in Lansing, where nobody is talking about the rate increase. And if you do hear the Board of Water and Light talking about it, they say, oh, it's just a 2% rate increase. And you have to wade through 87 pages of very complex data to try to understand that. And really the only place to understand the impacts of this rate increase is on the very back, on page 87. And if you look on the back of the table that I provided, that tiny font, that's page 87. Pretty hard to understand. So I blew that up for you on the front side there, where I took a look at what are the various customer types that the Board of Water and Light has, and what are they paying? What are their rates? And a 2% increase in my power bill is another $1 a month. I can handle that. I'm not all that worried about paying another $1 a month. But what I am disturbed about is if you look at the far right-hand column there, I don't use much electricity as a single person living in an apartment, but I'm paying 48 cents a kilowatt hour for power, and the biggest polluters in the city are paying 12 cents a kilowatt for the very same kilowatt hour. So we as the little people of the city continue to subsidize the corporations, and if the Board of Water and Light wants to raise rates, I would suggest that they should be raising rates on the corporations, not on the families that are footing the bill. So please, continue to take a hard look at the board of the Board of Water and Light.
Thank you. Next, we have Ryan Brand, followed by Caitlin Kretz. Is Ryan Brand here? Oh, okay.
Thank you all for your patience. Sorry for the wait there. Obviously, I have a special guest in appearance for this special day. Say your name. And this is Avery. I'm Ryan Brand, speaking on behalf of Capital Area Housing Partnership. I serve as the Director of Real Estate Development there. Before my time at Capital Area Housing Partnership, I served as a development analyst with Scenario Solutions Corporation, where we did a lot of development in Detroit. Just one quick second. I just wanted to express my extreme support for the 4% pilot, new 4% pilot ordinance that's being proposed before you all today. It's a critical path in doing the work that we do. Capital Area Housing Partnership, we've been serving the community for 30 years with one core foundation and meeting people where they're at. And systems and infrastructure like this 4% pilot allows us to do our job better and serve those folks in the community better. Yes. I just wanted to say, with this 4% pilot, we're able to fund reserves, we're able to turn units better and get more people into safe and affordable and quality housing. And I hope that you all continue to show the support for the development community and for the affordable housing community in the city of Lansing and the capital area region. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Caitlin Kretz, followed by Jody Washington.
Thank you. My name is Caitlin Kretz. I'm speaking on behalf of Scenario Community Development Finance Organization and an investor in affordable housing throughout the state of Michigan. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of the proposed by right pilot ordinance for 4% LIHTC developments. Lansing's affordable housing shortage is not a future challenge. It is a reality facing residents today. Working families, seniors on fixed incomes, veterans, and individuals with disabilities are struggling to find safe, quality housing that they can afford. As housing costs continue to rise, our communities must use every effective tool available to increase the supply of affordable housing. As an organization that evaluates affordable housing development across Michigan, we see firsthand that communities with predictable policies are better positioned to attract investment and successfully deliver housing. The LIHTC program is one of the nation's most effective policies at attracting new affordable housing and through its effective use of public-private partnerships. These developments are extraordinarily complex to finance. They depend on multiple funding sources, private investment, and predictable local policies. Even relatively small uncertainties in operating costs can determine whether a project is financially feasible. A by right pilot provides that certainty. It gives developers, lenders, and investors confidence that projects can move forward, helping close funding gaps and make Lansing more competitive for state housing resources and private capital. Those investments create jobs, they strengthen our neighborhoods, and they provide affordable homes that will serve our residents for decades. As we move forward and consider this further, I hope that the members here today can recognize that this is far beyond tax policy. It's about removing unnecessary barriers to housing production and demonstrating that Lansing is serious about addressing one of the most pressing challenges facing our community. The demand for affordable housing has already exists. The question before you tonight is whether Lansing will choose to equip itself with the tools necessary to meet that demand. Your vote is an opportunity to demonstrate leadership by supporting a practical, proven solution that will bring more affordable housing to our residents who need it most. On behalf of Senair, I respectfully urge you to vote yes on this ordinance and help ensure that Lansing takes meaningful action to address its affordable housing crisis. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Next, we have Jody Washington and then Loretta Stanaway.
Jody Washington. I'm speaking as a taxpayer and not as someone that will profit off this 4% pilot by right. This is bad for the citizens of this city. Dayanara also knows that we have exclusionary zoning in this area. Lansing is the only place that is doing these 4% pilots. The rest of the region is not doing it. And she said she didn't care. She's not going to wait for other people to do the right thing. So thank you. I just got notice of a friend that her house, she's 80 years old, has been put into tax foreclosure because she cannot afford the taxes. When they profit, we have to pick up the gap. Frankly, we're tired of it. They need to pay their fair share. 4% is ridiculous. It's 4% is nothing. Every person that has ever come up here has said, oh, we can't do the project unless it's at 4%. When it's denied, oh, surprise, they do it at 10%. This is a disgusting ordinance. It's on the backs of us. We just heard about the Mod Pods that we're going to have to probably pay out of the general fund, which is more of our taxes. We cannot afford to continue down this trajectory. And it's not wasted on me that they dropped their fancy suits this week. I noticed that right away. Ryan, I want to say thank you for stepping into my world a week ago. I took Ryan into the world I go into in this low-income affordable housing. Some of these places are the most deplorable public health risk that I have ever seen in my life. We're not talking hundreds of cockroaches. Ryan can tell you it's thousands. People are being eaten up by bed bugs. They are drug dens. They stick mentally ill people in with children, and it's a nightmare. I'm in these places every single day and have been for 10 years, and they can laugh and scoff all they want. You all go into the shiny new buildings, Go back in 5 to 10 years and see what we're dealing with. Ryan can show you the pictures of what he saw, and it was so deplorable he wouldn't even walk into the apartment. This is what I look at every day. So if you want to continue this trajectory, please let these areas profit. Let's keep letting the developers not pay their fair share and put it on our backs.
Thank you. Loretta Stanaway is our final speaker for this segment.
While I don't have the personal experience that Jody just related, I do have an awareness of the situations that substantiate her viewpoint. And I can tell you that as a common citizen of this city since 1985, I am at a breaking point myself. I have a decent job, I have a decent income. My house is paid off. I am still struggling to come up with the money to pay my property taxes in a timely way, and that is not going to be enhanced or helped in any way, shape, or form by passing a 4% pilot. We were told that one of the reasons that this would be helpful was because it helped the developers to get quicker responses. I say we, the public, need quicker responses. We need transparency. We need every developer having to come up before the city council and justify every tax break they think they want and that we should bear the burden of. The idea that giving these developers the tax break of an automatic 4% helps the community is disingenuous. It is absolutely false. The taxes that they aren't paying, we are. You're taking citizens and removing services from them that they are already paying for and not getting, and duplicating that, and triplicating that, and enhancing that at the expense of us so that a developer can make $10,000 on a job instead of $9,000. No, thank you.
Thank you. We are to the referral of public hearings 7, 8, and 9.
Sorry, I lost my place on the page. There we are. Those are going to the Committee on Public Service.
Okay, and did we, I'm not sure if we referred formally the show cause hearings 5 and 6.
We did not. Those will go to the Committee on Public Safety.
Okay, then we are to the consent agenda.
Vice President Palavanaglou.
Thank you. I move that the consent agenda be considered accepted as written and presented.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, we are to resolutions for action. Item 16 and 17 are both setting public hearings on noise special permits.
Vice President Palavanaglou.
Thank you. Item number 16, the resolution to set a public hearing on noise special permit from Hoffman Brothers, Inc. to allow for combined sewer overflow as to the Ottawa Street project. We did have some information on this presented at our July 23rd Committee on City Operations meeting. This stretch will span from West Ottawa, from North Capitol to North Washington Square. The desire, or the reason for this request is to hopefully get this completed prior to Silver Bells. The request is for Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. For the time frame of August 29th, 2026 through November 14th, 2026. I would move the resolution to set the public hearing for August 10th, 2026.
As a proper motion, is there further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. 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 All those opposed? Motion carries. Before we move on, items 7, 8, 9 are actually going to the Committee of the Whole.
Okay. Item 18 is the snow special assessment.
Got to do 17 yet.
Can I go do 17 first?
Sorry.
Thank you.
Vice President Palavanaglou. We're both multitasking over here. That's right.
No worries. So this is a resolution to set a public hearing on the noise special permit through Levitt and Stark Excavating, Inc. This goes along with the CSO 015 South project. This has to do with utility and infrastructure improvements associated with the CSO project. There's a desire to complete this within the 2026 construction season, and it was expressed to us at the July 23rd meeting that this deadline may not be met unless Saturdays are granted. They are striving to certainly reach that deadline, and the area of service for this project is between West Shiawassee, North Jenison, West Michigan, and Verlinden. And so the request is to work Saturdays from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. for the time frame of August 29th, 2026 through October 31st, 2026. With that, I move to the resolution to set the public hearing for August 10th.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, now we are to 18, the snow and ice removal.
Vice President Palavaglu.
Okay. Again, on July 23rd, the Committee on City Operations, after approximately, I believe it was 4 committee meetings total, we had quite a lengthy list of properties to review. I do want council members to know that we took our time, we deliberated, and took a look at every individual property that was included on this original roll. There are some variations that you will see here. Again, those stem from either property owner comments and advocating for their appeal to be granted, as well as some other information we received, such as unclear photograph, evidence of work having been conducted. There were a variety of reasons. If you have any questions on that, I'm happy to forward those meeting minutes to you. But with that, you do have the roll as approved by the committee, and that is what we are voting on today. And with that, I would move the resolution.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Seeing Councilmember Costa.
Just quickly, if anybody I believe the minutes are in our packet tonight, if you want to review those
Councilmember
from all
Martinez.
4 meetings.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to our committee members, Councilmember Koss and Vice President Palavaglu, going through this process, and all of the city departments and staff that were able to attend.
Thank you. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, item 19 is setting a public hearing on Brownfield Plan number 91.
Councilmember Garza.
Thank you, Council President. So the Development and Planning Committee met on July 20th. A resolution has been presented to set a public hearing for August 10th regarding the proposed 15-year Brownfield Plan number 91 for the redevelopment of approximately 5.74 acres located at 6420 South Cedar Street, the former University Motor Mall property. This property has remained vacant and underutilized for many years. The proposed Brownfield Plan is intended to assist with the redevelopment of the site through environmental cleanup, demolition of blighted structures, asbestos and lead abatement, site preparation and infrastructure improvements needed to support future commercial development. Committee members heard the developer and city staff that phase 1 of this project has already resulted in approximately $2 million in private investment, including the construction of a new Chick-fil-A restaurant. The remaining acreage is now being actively marketed for additional commercial and retail development, with discussions already taking place with several national and regional businesses. With that, let's see, once fully developed, the project has potential to create approximately 80 full-time jobs with an estimated average wage of approximately $15 per hour. And with that, I would move the resolution to set the public hearing for August 10th.
Thank you, Councilmember Garza. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Hussein.
Just a quick question. I'm incredibly excited about what's happening, kind of on the South Cedar Edgewood corridor, if you will. And I would assume, and I'm just trying to remember if this is the process this year with our Development and Planning Committee. Are we planning to have the developer here for the public hearing to present?
Correct. They will be
Okay,
here.
on both Brownfield. Okay.
Yep,
perfect.
on both
Thank
of them.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay, nay. Motion carries.
Okay, item 20 is setting a public hearing on an obsolete property rehabilitation act certificate.
Councilmember Garza.
All right, thank you. So the Development Planning Committee met that July 20th meeting. A resolution has been presented to set a public hearing for August 10th regarding the obsolete property rehabilitation act certificate for the redevelopment of the 2231 West Willow Street. City staff explained that the proposed project would rehabilitate an obsolete commercial property while supporting business expansion and creating approximately 20 new jobs. I believe they said the average job is about $75,000 or $80,000. This will be a complete renovation for 2 businesses, approximately $700,000 plus investment of an auto body paint business, specialized body repair shop. Staff also noted that despite the temporary tax initiative, the project is expected to continue generating substantial tax revenue throughout the life of the certificate, which is a 12-year certificate. while encouraging long-term economic investment in Lansing. And with that, I would move the resolution to set the public hearing for August 10th.
Thank you, Councilmember Garza. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion carries.
Okay, we are to ordinances for passage. We have item 21, an ordinance of the City of Lansing, Michigan to repeal Chapter 886 of the Lansing Codified Ordinances, tax exemptions for multifamily dwelling projects, as the incentive and project described therein has expired and the chapter is no longer needed, is read a second time by its title. The ordinance was reported from the Committee on Ways and Means and is on the order of immediate passage.
Councilmember Carter, anything to add?
Nothing to add. You already put that all together. But I do have a question for City Attorney. I know that we have been running both the repeal Chapter 886 and adding a new Chapter 886 collectively together. Is one contingent on the other, or do they cohesively go together?
I will answer that in two parts, but independently. The repeal of current Chapter 886 does not need the passage of new 886 in order to be valid, if that makes sense. It is correct to take the repeal of 886 first. I would recommend generally that the council repeal it anyway because it is a dead chapter right now. The thing that it points to is long since expired and actually has been refinanced and pulled into a different pilot project at this point. So the current 886 just doesn't need to be there. And then the new proposed 886 would be, it does need the repeal of current 886, so it does need that to happen first, but really the repeal of 886 is an independent action. Even if you didn't pass new 886, you could repeal current 886.
Okay, thank you. And then, so the current Chapter 886 still stays in play? Or
no,
said
if you,
it's done?
It's done anyway.
In that.
It's just, it's been done for a very long time and has been sitting here doing nothing.
Thank you. So no, clerk has definitely described this ordinance of passage. So this is make a motion for the repealing of Chapter 886, tax exemption for multifamily dwellings projects.
Okay, is there further discussion? I just want to clarify too, this is a housekeeping ordinance, right? So if we do this, it just takes away language we don't use anymore. So I think that was clear, but I wanted to make sure it was clear. So there we go. Any further discussion on this one? Okay, will the clerk please call the roll?
On adoption of the ordinance to repeal the section, Councilmember Carter.
Yes.
Councilmember Garza.
Yes.
Councilmember Hussein. Yes. Councilmember Cost. Yes. Councilmember Martinez. Yes. Councilmember Navarez Martinez.
Yes.
Councilmember Palivanaglu.
Yes.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Yes.
8 yeas, 0 nays, the ordinance is repealed.
Thank you.
Okay. So, item 22, an ordinance of the City of Lansing, Michigan to amend Chapter 886 of the Lansing Codified Ordinances, Sections 886.01 to 886.07 to authorize a property tax exemption for certain eligible properties in exchange for a service charge in lieu of taxes rate of 4% of annual shelter rents for up to 18 years in conformity with the State of Michigan property tax exemption alternative authorized under 1966 Public Act 346 as amended, specifically MCL 125.1415A, which permits a city to authorize by ordinance a rate below 10% of annual shelter rents, is read a second time by its title. The ordinance was reported from the Committee on Ways and Means and is on the order of immediate passage.
Councilmember Carter.
Again. You stole my thunder, clerk. Yeah, there's nothing else to additionally add for this ordinance. So make a motion for adding the new Chapter 886 service charge of 4% of annual shelter rents for eligible housing development projects.
Okay, that's a proper motion. Is there discussion? Councilmember Cost.
Yep. Just quickly, I wrote down some comments that I had earlier today. So I watched the Ways and Means Committee. I heard a claim from one of the folks that said they do this type of housing, that it would be impossible to build this type of affordable housing without a 4% pilot. And I would like to point directly to Simtab Management as it was a very public battle with this council. They fund all of their low-income affordable housing without any pilots. In fact, one of their buildings on Kalamazoo 105 pays almost $30,000 in property taxes each year. So it can be done. There's an 18-year cap. I heard that. I have not seen a project that does not come back to the table again to renew and extend that, Evergreen being the latest one. It was a pilot. It fell into total disrepair. And then the owner got to sell it for $1 million. And then we permitted the next company out of Los Angeles a pilot for, I think, 8% for multiple years. The pilot allows developers to set aside funding for future repairs. If that were so, we wouldn't have had to go through Evergreen or Autumn Ridge. I personally was at Autumn Ridge. Both terrible shape. That money never gets set aside. It falls into disrepair. The only people who pay for the price are the ones who can't afford to go anywhere else. And I can't sentence someone to live in poor living standards because of their income. And as typically I don't point out public comment, but as council or former council member Washington mentioned, I have been inside these complexes. As of recent with her at one of them, and it is heartbreaking to see what happens. And these aren't just the old ones, these are the new ones. One of the newest pilots that we have, I have spent countless hours talking to senior citizens because it was poorly built and they had cold air blowing through their overhead exhaust of their stove, cold air blowing in the winter. And their electric bill was through the roof because it was electric heat. They didn't have the right cap. The build was poor. They never use local union labor. It always ends up being outsourced. That is another frustration. At the end of the day, we need to name this, and it's not making affordable housing. That is a great argument, and it certainly sells my moral compass to hear that, but it's corporate welfare. And the idea that coming before council to approve a pilot, which I have never seen this council turn down a pilot. I've seen us get better terms because they did have to go through a very public process, which I think is appropriate. In my opinion, I was elected to represent the people, and if we just do a 4% pilot by right, people no longer have a right to come down and either voice their support or not support for what's happening in their community. And I think for me, that's an important part of democracy, is for people to have a chance to voice their opinion. If we just put a rubber stamp on this, we're delegating away our authority and oversight that the people elected us to do. They certainly asked me to do that. So with all of that said, I will not be able to support this 4% pilot. But what I would like to see is helping our code compliance department and working with law and other council members to gain as many tools as we can to fix up the problem housing that we know we have in this city, the poor living standards that people have to live under right now. I've seen it. I see it every day. I have to claw and fight because I don't know that the department has all the tools they need, and I want to give them those tools before we make this problem even bigger with this 4%. Detroit has a 4% by right, and there is a recent news article that says only 15% of their rentals have actually had an inspection, which tells me that we're going to go down the same road. And we already struggled to keep up with what we have now. Just drive around a neighborhood, talk to somebody that has to live in these situations. I have personally had to pay deposits for residents to get them out of cockroach infested, water leaking, unsanitary conditions that have been allowed to fester. And so this vote at the end of the day was not difficult. I really do believe we should be focused on how we can fix up our housing stock that we have in this city before we start considering easing the regulations on pilots. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Cost. Councilmember Navarez Martinez.
You know, I could never, I don't know how people do this, but I could never come up here and say things as a fact that I haven't double checked. So first of all, SimTop does not do affordable housing. They do what is called workforce housing, which is different. And none of their developments are quote unquote affordable housing. They will tell you that themselves. They're not in the affordable housing market. In addition, research actually shows, and if you'd like to look it up, if you go and read what Professor Vincent Reyna at UPenn's Housing and Innovation Lab has written, the data shows that unless there is a incentive, developers will not build affordable housing. In addition, it is my understanding that the place that Councilmember Cost toured was located at 318 Cesar Chavez. That is not a pilot. And so I actually will commit myself personally. If you can give me the address of anything that is in our active pilot list that is not in compliance, we will launch an investigation that day. It is a violation of the Light Tech federal program, and we need to take care of that. If any of these are out of compliance, come tell me. We have investigative powers. I personally commit to start the investigation. Anybody who can bring them to me. In addition, again, there is no money set aside. That is a violation of the program. That is not something that happens. If it is happening, we need to put a stop to it. The pilot can go away if those are the conditions. That is the law. That is not what I'm making up. That is the reality. Those are facts. Local union labor. I understand that there has historically not been labor folks hired onto these projects. We are making ourselves as a city more competitive to bring more projects into our city, which hopefully will create more jobs that our union folks can bid for. Currently, they don't bid for them because they're small or they're few and far between. Look at me making a capitalist argument up here. If we increase competition, there will be hopefully more projects that our union folks can bid on. You know, we are a poor city, and this particular ordinance would set 30% of units to be affordable to low and moderate income people. Our median household income in the city of Lansing is $54,382. HUD's FY 2026 income limit categories say that low AMI 80% income limits are $82,100. That means that the regular folks in our city can afford this rent, would be in these, able to go into these units. In addition, another population that would get served with this, and as someone who does work with unhoused people, specifically in the Latinx community, which has high rates of what we call doubled up homelessness, we would open up units for people not to have 2-3 different households in one unit. According to the Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis, the 5-year estimates states that up to 62% of renters in the city of Lansing are severely cost burdened by their rent. We need to create opportunities for these folks to have safe, decent, affordable housing. Okay. Let's see, what is this? Another concern that I've heard is that you know, people will just want to renew the pilot indefinitely. That is not in this ordinance. This ordinance actually says that if you already have an existing pilot, you're not eligible for this ordinance. And so it would have to be, if they wanted, after they're done with their 18 years, another pilot, it would be a different process that doesn't go through this ordinance. And finally, I've also encountered folks who are asking, okay, well, what are the taxes that we're missing out on? These are, you know, we're giving them this in lieu of taxes. First of all, that doesn't mean that they're not paying into they are giving us money. They're not giving us what the property taxes would be, but that's a bit of a moot question because the difference is actually between nothing, because there's no development and nobody's going to do it without an incentive, and a lower price. And so, in addition, I live right down the street from the Walter French development, which had a 4% pilot, would not exist without it. And there are also intangibles that we can't calculate. I would much rather live down the street from a revamped, very nice historical building where my neighbors live than an old vacant school, and God knows what's going on in there. And so, in addition to what we are getting in lieu of taxes, we get intangibles that are really beneficial to our community. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Carter.
Thank you, President Spatafor. I know that there's been a lot of conversation regarding this particular ordinance, and for me, I just want to be clear, it is nothing about the lack of support that I have as far as development. There is a need of development. There is a need of additional housing, for quality housing for all of our residents at all income levels. So that is not the issue at hand for me, but I have spoke very openly about the financial impact. And so although I can definitely respect Councilwoman Navarez and Martinez's synopsis, there is still a lack of property tax revenue that we would be getting. And over time, it would have been nice to see any type of projections, potential projections. And I'm aware that we can't predict the future. However, we have several different pilots already in play, over 30 pilots already in play that was able to provide some type of synopsis of what those projections could look like. So for me, the financial stability 18 years from now, I'll be here to say I'm not going to be here 18 years from now. So I'm looking at the future of our next generation and how that's going to impact them financially. The other piece of it is oversight. And so I can appreciate that this current body has the ability to have oversight. I can also appreciate the ability to have public comment because these developments are coming into our communities, neighborhoods, neighbors. And so it would be interesting to see that the exact outcome and impact that this ordinance should have also contradicts that our residents are unable to really speak to it. So they're for our low, moderate income residents, but will they have the opportunity to speak of what's going in their neighborhood or their neighbor's neighborhood? And so without having that additional council body oversight, it does give me pause with this particular ordinance, and there's no particular guardrails as it states in this particular verbiage. So again, I'm looking at the overall accountability, the fiscal responsibility, and then our community engagement when it comes to this particular ordinance. And so with that, I find it hard for me to support this ordinance at this time.
Thank you, Councilmember Carter. Councilmember Hussein.
Yeah, let me first say I really appreciate the work that Councilmember Navarez Martinez put into this. Certainly appreciate the committee. Have watched the committee meetings back as well with ordinance in hand. And certainly had a number of questions that I wanted answered just as part of the public record. And so first, and I don't know if this is for Councilmember Navarez Martinez or if it's for the committee or some of them are probably going to be for the city attorney. I think the first is when we look at that language that's baked into the ordinance regarding the 30% of units being designated for low and moderate income individuals. My question is, what problem does that solve? In other words, of the 37 pilots that we have today, do we know how many of those reserve less than 30% for low to moderate income? Because I'm going to be real honest with you. The way, well, let me ask a follow-up question if we don't know an answer to that. Under statute and under ordinance, does the pilot consideration, does that apply to every unit in a development, or does it only apply to those that are low income and moderate? Yes.
Yeah, and that's actually set by statute. It only applies to those units or those components, those parts of the development that are reserved and under covenant for low to moderate income.
Okay, so the question probably now is for the committee. My question then is, what problem does this solve? Because of the 37 pilots we have in place, of the ones that I'm aware of, 100% of the units are actually set aside for low to moderate income individuals, because the incentive is in that aspect of it, right? That the pilot will only apply to those units. So that's my first question. How did we get to the 30% threshold? Thanks.
So the answer to that, what problem is it solving, is if you look at our homelessness study, we are thousands and thousands of units under what we need to house everybody in the city, the way that they should be housed. And so that would be the problem that this would help to solve, especially as we're doing transitional housing. We don't currently have any place to transition the folks that will be in our Mod Pod program into. And so that would be a problem that this is solving. What was the second question?
I don't, well, the second question was for the city attorney, and I think he answered that question. But again, I think the incentive is not necessarily the 30%. I think the incentive.
Oh, the 30% is
Yeah.
where I got to the 30%. So our current pilot ordinance, the 10% one, says in the language only a substantial amount of, it doesn't specify a number. And so I took the number in the LIHTC program is usually 25%. And so I thought it needed to be above the 25% that LIHTC usually does.
Okay. And did I hear correctly that any developer that comes forward and is approved under this ordinance by right of 4%, that they, at the expiration of their pilot, that would be 18 years, they would not be eligible? And I shouldn't say developer. I want to say let's say tied to the address, because we know the game that's played, right? It's sold for quite the profit. Somebody comes in, they're new, and they're able to circumvent certain things and make certain arguments in front of this body that a new pilot is necessary. So am I hearing that they would not be eligible
Not
for
by
another
right.
pilot?
Not by right. They would have the right to apply for other pilots, but it wouldn't be this ordinance that allows it to go without our coming to us.
So they would be eligible for a 10% by right?
They would be eligible to apply for a 10% by right, and they would be eligible to come to the council for any other percentage other than 10%.
So they could move forward with an 18-year 4%, and then so there's no public oversight at that point, I would assume, no city council oversight, and then after 18 years they could then by right. Obviously they need a recommendation from the department, they'll need administrative approval, but then they could have 35-year 10% pilot. Is that correct?
They could have a 10% pilot. I can't say how many years it would be for. That's going to be set by a
Well, under
long
state
term.
statute, they could have up to after that.
I mean, under state statute, I think you can have a pilot for up to 50 years, but it's tied to the financing that you get through LIHTC programming.
Fantastic.
So, yes.
Okay. How did we settle at 18 years? Where'd that come from?
I can speak to that. Generally speaking, there's some lead-in and lead-out time that is required both for a property to actually be developed. It takes some time after the pilot gets approved. They have to then collect all their financing and then actually start building, and that takes, it doesn't happen within a day. And then there's also a wind-up period at the end where they are trying to figure out what their finances look like and how they're going to proceed. And so there were 3 buffer years that are essentially added to. There's a 15-year covenant that's the hard period that they must be bound to do low-income housing under certain HUD and MISTA programming rules. And so that's really the shortest time period that it made sense to do it at.
Okay, so and I'm just trying to get to the why behind these numbers. Sorry, just trying to get to the why behind the numbers and things of that nature. Why the 4%? I mean, was there a financial analysis as to this is what is most often needed? Why not 5%? Why not 6%? How did we arrive at 4%?
These are HUD thresholds that are usually used with the LIHTC program.
Okay. And I was going to ask that question too, because when I asked some original questions, there was this conflation of LIHTC, right, and pilot. And I just want people to understand that these are 2 different programs, 2 different tools that are often used when we talk about low-income and affordable housing projects. The low-income housing tax credits, where there's 4% of the 9% program, what those are federal tax credits that are administered through MISTA, that are awarded to a developer. And then what the developer does as part of their capital stack is they're able to sell those to investors, and that becomes part of their capital stack. In terms of applying at the state for these tax credits, again, federal tax credits that are administered through MISTA, they do get points for having a pilot in place, right? And so the idea of them coming to the city, yes, this makes it financially, a little bit more financially feasible for them. But again, they go to the state, they shop the pilot, it becomes part of the rubric, and they get points. And so I want to make sure people understand that these are not the same, one and the same, but that's the way they're related. Have we been able to answer the question that of whether or not they get more points for having a 4% as opposed to 10%? And if so, how many points?
This is, I mean, I do not know that.
Because we have, let me just answer, and here's why. We've had many developers vote us here, right? We've had many developers come to the city of Lansing and say, well, I could really use that 4% as opposed to the 10%, because that will make this, right, when we talk about at the state level, when we talk about the rubric, a higher scoring. However, I've also got quite a bit of conflicting information that, well, they actually just get points for having a pilot in place. So have we been able to, I've asked that question about that.
Sure, okay. I just want to back up one step because I interact with you plenty and I know things. I'm giving you answers to the things that I know the answers for.
Right.
I did not make any of the policy choices for any of this stuff. I didn't pick the 18 years, I didn't pick the 4%. I can tell you what I know from my experience from watching things happen, but I just want to make clear I'm not necessarily defending this or vouching for any of it. That really should be directed to other people at this dais and not me. I will say that my understanding, there's two components. There's the LIHTC, but the pilot program is administered through MISTA, and MISTA has to also give their approval. We've had pilots where they come through for a 10% or even a less than 10%, and the city approves it, and then they don't get it through MISTA. MISTA says no, they don't always have an infinite number of these to hand out. And one of the pieces that's in the statute, and I'm looking at section 1415A of the Michigan State Housing Development Authority Act, talks about there's a federally finance with a federally aided or authority aided mortgage. Sometimes that's LIHTC, sometimes that's not LIHTC. But when MISTA looks at these things to figure out which ones they are going to say, yes, go forward on, the percentage of their pilot payment does make a difference in their scoring. That's my understanding. That's how MISTA is looking at it. And to be perfectly honest, I have to believe that a lot of that doesn't necessarily come down to a lower percentage is worth better points. A lower percentage is going to pencil better in terms of making the numbers work, that they actually can get the financing that they need to make the thing happen.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
So it's the math, right? They get points of how feasible the project actually is, and depending on what it's going to cost, then either the 10 or the 4 makes more sense. And I want to be clear that this is to make us more competitive because, and I think the city attorney kind of brushed up to this, only 20 to 25% of these LIHTC applications at the state level get approved. And having the pilot greatly increases the chances of them getting approved for funding. And this is making our city more competitive to have more of these state projects approved for our city so that we can get more housing for those thousands and thousands of units that we don't have, that our own consultants told us you have a deficit of thousands of units of affordable housing.
Sure. And I appreciate that. I still don't know that I've truly heard a definitive answer in terms of this is going to make, I get the penciling out piece. I get, but that this is actually going to make this more attractive at the state level, that this is going to, grease the skids essentially to make this actually move through. I'm struggling with the 4%. When we talk about penciling out, we just talked about penciling out of projects. And we know that, and I also, when I watched the committee, I heard Mr. Van Fossen talk about, there will still be department review, and there will be a recommendation to the administration. So I guess my question is, with regard to that process, what are, I guess, the economic or financial thresholds in terms of need that somebody would have to be able to demonstrate to qualify for the 4%? Does that make sense? Yes. Yes, and are there any limitations, as an example, on profit margin for the developer? I mean, are these things considered?
We did not put anything about profit margin in the ordinance. I don't know, Raleigh is there, I don't know if he wants to chime in.
I asked the question because, I mean, since WODA has been very public as part of this process, I'm going to be very candid, and I would be very concerned if they stated that this did not happen. I had, and this is just one of many developers I've talked to during my time on council. They, in talking to me, because their proposed project is in Southwest Lansing, I had a number of their operatives on a virtual call, as a matter of fact, not all that long ago. And it was when there was some conversation about this, but I don't even believe there was a draft ordinance that had actually necessarily been presented to the city attorney at that time. But I had, on that call, I asked very clearly if they could do this project at 10%. And they said, yes, they could. However, what they said, it absolutely was said. They said, however, it was their understanding at that time that the city may have been considering a 4%. And so, of course, if that was the case, that they would pursue the 4%. We have had a number of, here's the bottom line, we've had a number of developers come to the city of Lansing and say, as Mr. Koss said, we can only do it at 4%. And then when we really started vetting publicly their pro formas and things of that nature, we realized, well, we started asking the tough questions, and then they started being a little bit more apt to, maybe we could do it at 6%, or maybe we could do it at 6.6%. We've had situations where we've said, we don't think anything less than 10% is necessary. We've rejected, and lo and behold, they went forward with the 10%. So I think that's why these questions are really important. I think a lot of times it is about profit margin for the developer. So that would be concerning to me if we didn't have those conversations as part of the committee, or if we couldn't answer those. Okay. Couple more. Did we, and I think Councilwoman Carter spoke to this, I'm assuming we do have representatives from our city assessor. So we really did not come up with any type of forecast in terms of property tax revenue that will be, that could potentially be lost over an 18-year period. Or when we think of cumulative effect, because we could have a deluge, right, of these proposals come to the city of Lansing, there really was no financial impact that was provided to the committee. Is that correct? Okay. Is there, I would assume no, there's no annual cap baked into this ordinance in terms of how many of these could be approved? No annual cap. Did we bring in, when we talk about property tax, I think a lot of people, because we are the collecting entity, I think people forget that, we're looking at Lansing School District, we're looking at CATA, we're looking at Cattle, we're looking at Ingham County, we're looking at Lansing Community College. Did we bring those entities in? Were they consulted? What type of impact did this potentially have on their bottom line? No. Okay. Did we talk about, there was this, it was, I don't know who it was. It wasn't Mr. Van Fossen, but somebody in committee spoke about you could have a property that was generating either very little to no property tax. And so 4% of sheltered rents, backing out all utilities, and of course this would only be on the affordable units, is better than nothing. The issue with that is that every unit that we bring online has a cost to the city in terms of public services, in terms of public safety, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of, and so did we talk about the potential financial impact in terms of, per unit or per development? We believe this is what the cost to the city will actually be, and this is where we're going to be short, right, with regard to this 4%, and this is what the taxpayer will have to actually supplement, because that's the reality. It is a public benefit to have more quality, affordable housing units, but we do have to acknowledge and I don't think anybody can contend with this in the audience, that at 4%, we will not be pulling in the money for those units to actually sustain those from a public safety, a public service, infrastructure, the list goes on.
Yeah, so this is actually also taking advantage of new funding that HUD will have through the new bill passed through the Congress and the Senate by Elizabeth Warren on housing. There are incentives there for those communities that are actually building and bringing new affordable units online to get money to create infrastructure to service these units and to get additional grants to do the work that you're talking about, to hire more police, to build more roads, to better the water quality, all of those issues as well.
Was there, you've heard me talk a lot about my concerns. Somebody that, I grew up in affordable housing, live in an area that has really an abundance of low-income and affordable housing when you talk about the projects that have been built across the city. And I believe in the potential of, I believe in the promise of, I'm a product of, right? But I also know that the concentration of poverty is devastating for the people that live within that concentration of poverty. And this does have the potential to exacerbate concentration that already exists. So my question becomes, was there any discussion on geographical impact and protection, safeguards, guardrails to ensure that no one part of the city of Lansing would be adversely affected?
That was asked as well, and I didn't get a response at that particular time during.
Yeah, so I'm, unfortunately, and I'm sad to say this, if you don't want to live in concentrated poverty, we are a poor city. There is concentration of poverty in every single ward in our city already. And so it's also based on the research on the concentration of poverty that has been done with Harvard in the longest housing study that has been done on vouchers and getting people to move out of their neighborhoods to go into higher income neighborhoods. What happens is that their life outcomes don't greatly change, because what happens at the same time when you take someone out of that concentrated poverty is you take them out of their social networks. And so, so then the mom that works at McDonald's that now can live somewhere else doesn't know the neighbor that can take care of their kid, or that's the only way to survive being poor. As someone, we both grew up poor, you know that that's the only reason you survive being poor, with your social network and those social ties that you already have. And so why is it that I represent the southeast side, you represent the southwest side, that we would force our folks who are already impoverished to leave their home just because we're unwilling to provide that housing where we actually need it, because that's where they're from and that's where they live? And so that's what my answer would be to that. And like I said, the research backs this up through the longest housing study, the Moving to Opportunity study by Harvard University. This is what people need, is to be able to have safe, affordable, decent housing in the places where they have their networks.
And I certainly appreciate that. We could probably talk for another 2 to 3 hours on concentration of.
Also, the incentive would be bigger in let's have it in Morris Park. That's a bigger incentive.
I just appreciate the back and forth discussion. Yep, I got you.
But just very quickly, we could talk about concentration of poverty. We could talk about studies. We could talk about my experiences and other folks that I work with, their experiences, what it does to attract, right? What it does to repel, good, when we talk about reputable financial institutions, we talk about healthcare, we talk all these things that we're really fighting against and fighting for at the same time in my community, but that's not necessarily what we're here to talk about. There was some conversation about revocation of pilot. Greg, Mr. City Attorney, have we, based on a developer's performance, promises not being kept, condition of property, et cetera, have we revoked pilots in the city of Lansing in the past? I cannot recall.
Well, I would say I'm not aware of any pilots being revoked by the city. I would also say that the threshold is not whether or not we like what the property looks like or how it's performing. the question is really, I mean, the deal, the quid pro quo is, you shall rent this to people within this AMI group and no higher, and in exchange, you get this break on your taxes. I mean, that is the deal. They have to hit other things, and MISTA oversees most of that other stuff. They have to pass code inspections, obviously, things like that. But beyond that, there's not really a basis, a legal basis to make the revocation. And I will say, I certainly have not been made aware of any, both looking back into the past. Well, that's not actually true. There have been some, I'm thinking about this for a moment, there have been some where that entity has their own financial troubles, and then they are no longer able to actually go forth with those rents, at which point they get pulled back and then try to refinance and do other things. But that hasn't happened here in Lansing in a very long time. It was like the 80s and 90s when that happened last.
I've never, in my time on council, I've never been asked, it's interesting, I've never been asked to support an ordinance that, in my opinion, does away with quite a bit of public transparency, oversight, et cetera. And so my question becomes, with regard to if this was to go through, what would public oversight look like? Would these proposals be publicly listed? Would there be comment periods? Would there be, I'm really struggling, again, as a city council member who truly believes in the democratic process. I mean, we all ran on this idea of enhancing transparency. And now we are actually looking at a measure that would do away with quite a bit of that transparency and oversight. So with administrative review only, what does the public oversight process look like, if there's any?
There's still reports that get given to us throughout the year, or at once a year from each of the projects. I have asked the city attorney and the planning department to begin to give us yearly, at council, yearly reports on all of these so that we know where they're at, what has been turned to us. And so we would be fully aware of what these are and what they look like and all of these things.
But nothing on the like prior to the actual approval of, or because it's a by right, again, there will be some administrative review of, but there's nothing on that front end. Is that correct?
Yes. So this is one of the really frustrating things about this process is that people assume that, some developer from New York City is just going to fly into the Lansing airport and say, I want a pilot, and we're going to be like, great. These applications are incredibly time intensive. They have to give us all kinds of documents. These aren't going to get approved just on the fly. We have an extensive review of these applications, and we hire staff that we believe is competent to do this, and will be able to flag any that are not, in our best interest. Again, only 20 to 25% of those will get any funding at the state level, and without those, they will probably not build. And so it's moot. We spend months and months beating up developers, and then they take that and then try to get MISTA funding or HUD funding, and then they don't, and the development doesn't happen anyway. That also is the reason why we don't have a lot of competition in this space in nonprofit development, because they don't want to come, get beat up by us, and then not get the funding anyway, and then we've politicized the heck out of the program, and 6 months later, they don't even get to do the program. And so who in their right mind is going to want to jump, headfirst into that process? It's the predictability that they need, that capital funding stack. If it doesn't come together, and this is an essential part of that, then we don't get the funding, and we don't get the housing that we need for our residents.
Yeah, sorry. And I appreciate that. I don't know that I want a developer building low income in let's just say low income housing for some of our most vulnerable citizens in the city, if they can't come into the well, with all due respect, and have their project and their proposal stand up to council scrutiny. I mean, to me, that is, particularly, with all due respect to some of the folks in the audience, particularly with the amount of money, and this is what I was trying to speak to earlier, there is a lot of, and I think we've actually had this at the dais, there's a lot of money and profit in poverty. And these people stand to benefit handsomely. But I want to make sure that our citizens are benefiting handsomely. And so for me, I think that requires, if the incentive is going to be of such 4%, 5%, 6%, that they at least come down and present their proposal and answer questions. And I mean, we've heard arguments that, well, it just takes too long, and you have these timelines built into the state procedure or process, and they have to be able to make these application deadlines. I'm going to tell you this right now: if we have a developer with a proposal and they don't have their ducks in a row far before any type of deadline with the state, and they're not able to come through I don't think, frankly, that protracted of a process before City Council. Again, that's not the type of developer that we're going to want, building these types of units in the city of Lansing. Just so folks know, we do have 37 active pilots in the city of Lansing. 19 of those 37 are below that 10%. So we actually have right now 15 at 4%. We have 3 at 7%. We have 1 at 8%. We have been able to, with the ordinance in place, again, make sure that we are onboarding affordable units, but we've also been able to use this. I've used it a number of times to say no to bad actors, to negotiate better terms for the city of Lansing. When you look at, and I really wish we would have done a financial impact, because when you look at the work that we've done just over the last 5 years in terms of negotiating up, if you will, or maybe negotiating down the duration of the pilot, you're looking at maybe not just hundreds of thousands, but millions into the city's coffers, over the duration of those pilots. This is a critical, substantial financial decision for the city of Lansing. And as Councilwoman Carter spoke earlier, we're binding future councils, we're binding future generations, we're administrations, et cetera, to the outcome of our decision today. So I struggle a little bit with that. We talked a little bit about other
Councilmember Hussein, we've
city-
got a few other folks that would like to ask some questions and some discussion.
I got just a few more.
It's been over 20 minutes.
Yep, yeah, this is a really critical ordinance, and I would ask for a few more minutes if that's okay. Is that okay? A couple more minutes?
Can
I got
we-
2 more.
2 more? All right.
2 more, that's it. And frankly, with all due respect, Chair, I would think because it's that critical, we'd be willing to stay here all night on this. We talked a lot about Detroit and Grand Rapids. How long do we know, how long have those ordinances of 0% by right and 4% by right been in place?
So the 0% was put in place by Dugan, I believe, when he was mayor. And so, I don't know, what's that, 2015-ish? So about a decade, maybe.
Okay. Because I believe, and I could be wrong, Grand Rapids ordinance I thought was originally their pilot ordinance put in place in 1968, but it was amended to the 4% in 2024. And I thought Detroit's was
That's correct.
2024 is right.
2024.
Okay. So I'm struggling that we're using 2 ordinances that have been placed really for a couple years, and there's not a lot of performance data to be compiled to drive decision-making here in the city of Lansing. And because the chair wants to cut short this conversation, probably due to time, and that's okay, I guess I'm just going to end with maybe just really, for me, the ordinance, I've asked this question a number of times. What problem are we trying to solve? And I think the ordinance that we have in place now allows for checks and balances. It allows for legislative oversight. More importantly, it allows for public oversight. I think it drives accountability. It has driven accountability. Allows for council and the public to say no to bad actors, right, which we referenced a number of times tonight. I think it's allowed us to say no to developers that haven't kept promises in the past. And maybe not just in the city of Lansing, maybe in other communities, right? So many of these developers are, WOTA, it's coming out of Ohio, right? And again, just to underscore, I've never on my time on council vetted an ordinance that would throw all of that to the wayside. And for me, this just feels like it would be an abdication of responsibility and really some measure, it would be negligent, right, to the folks that we represent. So I simply can't support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Pelavanoglu.
I will do my best to be concise. A couple of questions, actually one just stemming from some of the comments I heard within the last few moments. City Attorney, to revoke a pilot, is that done through council or the administration?
If the pilot were an ordinance, it would have to come through council, and if the pilot were through 10% or a non-ordinance, it would have to go through administration, but it would also necessarily involve MISTA.
And it would involve the state of Michigan within that process?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Okay, just a moment. I was reviewing this list as we're having this spirited debate. So I note that we have several pilots that have been granted over the years below the 10% threshold, several of them at 4%. Number 10 on the list is 20 years at 4%. Number 12 on the list is 52 years at 4%. Number 13 on the list is 40 years at 4%. Number 15 is 51 years at 4%. So going down this list, I don't see any of these that were granted and passed through this council, previous councils, for 4% for less than 20 years. And I do acknowledge that this new ordinance would cap that at 18 years, and if they wanted to extend that, they would have to go through a similar yet different process. My question is, can these current pilots, can these be extended through some process or mechanism?
Yes, they
could
can be
apply
extended
just
either
as they
through a
could
council ordinance, or they could come back and ask to become a 10%, either a conclusion of their current, or if for some reason they wanted to give up a lower than 10% and become a 10%, they could.
So
Yes.
that doesn't, I mean, that's true for either
Correct.
the proposed ordinance or what we currently have on the books, correct?
Correct.
Anecdotally, I've been to a lot of community meetings, a few presentations, lots of community questions have been asked. I know there is a sentiment out there that the more housing stock we have, rents are likely to come down. And although that is not something that we can solidify and say in stone here tonight, I do think that when we talk about being competitive, growing the market, adding housing to what we currently have today, I would like to see rents come down if we are adding more housing stock. Another thing I just like to say, I am going to support this, and this is why, one of the reasons why. I understand there are a lot of questions. I respect my colleagues and your opinions and the perspective that you've all offered. I understand that the law is ever changing, and sometimes we need to adjust our laws to fit the needs of the day. We are in the middle of a housing crisis. Adjusting an ordinance or enacting an ordinance at 4% does not mean that that is permanent. It means that it is a tool that we are willing to utilize in order to create more housing for folks more quickly than what is currently happening within this city. And if at some point in time in the future that needs to be adjusted, council can certainly do that through the tools that we have available as well. I don't think that this idea is radical. I think that we need to do what we can in order to create more affordable and low-income housing for residents within our city. I would rather do something than nothing. And I will say that whether or not this ordinance passes tonight, I think that we are definitely all thinking about ways to improve the current situation and be able to create those building blocks to have more affordable housing within the city. Thank you.
Councilmember Martinez.
Excuse me. Wow, I waited so long now I can't. Sorry. Woo! Need some water. I just want to say thank you so much to all of my colleagues. I appreciate the spirited debate. Thank you, President Spatafor, for guiding all of us in this conversation. Thank you, Dr. Nevarez-Martinez, for your work on this, and thank you to the committee as well for all of your work. As a social worker, the ethical principles lay out for us very clearly the work that we are in spirit of doing. The first one is the value of service. Social workers' primary goal is to help people in need and to address social problems. As a teacher, I see students every year that become unhoused and they stop coming to school. I think that would be of the interest to all of us in this community, not just our teachers and school board members and administrators, but everyone here, of course, at this dais and in the audience. And so I want to reiterate that housing is a top issue for us in this city and also in this country. I don't see this as a mechanism for taking power away from our council or our city. Instead, I see it us showing up to the fight prepared with the tools that are needed. And I just see this as a toolkit, or tool in our toolkit, right? This is just one more thing in our box, as Vice President Pelivanoglu stated. So this is not the end-all be-all, but this is one mechanism that we can utilize. This body should be working to make affordable housing and creating it an easier task in our city, not a harder one. And we have people that come to public comment almost every single meeting that are begging for it. I'm concerned that as climate changes and the conditions in the summer become harsher and our winters become harsher, that we are going to hear from more and more people who are in need of heating centers and cooling centers and housing in general. And I cannot look at my students and my families and think that we did not do every single thing that we could to ensure that we gave them more access to more high-quality housing and affordable housing. I'm confident as a college-educated person and a person in this city that the folks at the table, whether they're city staff, the assessor's office, whether it be MISHDA or other organizations that partake in creating more affordable housing, that they are, I'm assured that they're going to do the right thing, and I believe and trust them. I think the need for more safe and quality affordable housing is here. It's not tomorrow, it's not later, it's yesterday, really. And I hope that as our residents cannot wait any longer and we hear more from housing advocates and folks that are experiencing a lack of housing, that we take the steps required to stand up for them and ensure that they have access to that. So I will be voting yes on this, as it's just one tool in our toolkit, and I hope that this body moves in the future to ensure that our kids and our families and everyone in this city has access, as they have the right, to high-quality, affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no further discussion, would the clerk please call the roll?
On adoption of the ordinance, Councilmember Garza.
No.
Councilmember Hussein. No. Councilmember Cost. No. Councilmember Martinez.
Yes.
Councilmember Navarez Martinez.
Yes.
Councilmember Pelivanoglu.
Yes.
Councilmember Spatafor.
Yes.
Councilmember Carter.
No.
4 yeas, 4 nays, the ordinance is not adopted.
Thank you.
And with that, we are to speaker registration for public comment on city government-related matters. If you wish to address city council, we'll give you another minute to sign in if you have not already done so. And with that, we are to the referral items.
Vice President Pelivanoglu.
Thank you. I move that all items be considered as being read in full and that the proper referrals be made by President Spatafor.
It's proper motion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
From the clerk, minutes of boards and commissions.
Placed on file.
Nonprofit recognition, Next Generation Family Services.
City operations.
From the mayor, 2 items on Brownfield Plan number 92.
Development and planning.
Grant acceptance for building, better utilizing investments to leverage development.
Ways and means.
Grant acceptance, certified local government grant program.
Ways and means.
Grant acceptance, Michigan Strategic Fund revitalizing and placemaking.
Ways and means.
And adding 2 items on adding Chapter 245 on the Office of the Independent Internal Auditor.
Ways and means.
Communications and petitions, notice from the Liquor Control, GNS Petroleum request for conditional license transfer, to 3400 South Waverly Road.
City Operations.
And another notice from the Liquor Control Commission, request for a new SDM license, La Frontera South at 5852 South Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard.
City Operations.
We are to remarks by council members.
Any further comments this evening? Seeing none.
Remarks by the mayor. We're back to public comment then. Our first speaker is Joanne Beam, followed by Geraldine Rush.
Good evening, council members. My name is Joanne Beam. I live at the Porter Building, downtown Lansing. I've been on Fox 47 News 3 times regarding the rat infestation that we have in the apartment building. The first incident occurred on March the 15th, 2026. Rodent control was hired to handle it, but they weren't paid, so the services stopped. And then on July 2nd, there was another rat in my home. I had to pay for all of the rat traps and people to come in to remove the rats from my home. From what I understand, they haven't paid the cleaning lady. Now we're having more bed bugs, cockroaches, because they're not coming back in anymore. I have to keep my lights on 24 hours because I'm terrified. I can't sleep at night. I have got in touch with another apartment building which accepted me immediately. Matter of fact, there's quite a few that accepted me. I am got a union together for the tenants of the Porter Building to represent them, and they're terrified to say anything that they're going to be evicted or put out. And I'm the voice for the Porter Building, although I will be leaving August the 10th. I'm very concerned about the building. It is horrible. There's no security. We have homeless people, and I understand that, but then we have drug dealers in there also. The front door is blocked. The elevators break down all the time, and I'm very concerned for the elderly. I'm elderly. I'm 66. I'll be 67 next month. I am terrified to even go home tonight to stay in my apartment. And so are the other residents. So I'm here for a voice for the Porter Building. Something needs to be done with that building. They got a 9.1 tax reduction, tax credit. I'm asking them, where's the money going? Nobody knows anything. The management don't know where the money went. The garbage is piled up to the ceiling. Like I said, I've been on the news with Larry Wallace for 3 or 4 times on this same incident, and they're not doing anything. And I ask that I'm here to ask for help, and I don't know what to do because I'm fearful of my residents. They're elderly, they're handicapped, the elevators are always broke, so I'm fearful for them. And if a fire breaks out, the residents upstairs can't get down in the wheelchair if the elevators don't work. This is constant. I've been there for 6 years, and I've done what I could do for the residents, and now I have to move on because I do not feel safe in my home anymore. Something needs to be done with the Porter Building. We've had a problem with that forever, and no one's taken action on it. And I ask the mercy of you that someone will take action on that. Thank you for your time, and you have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Next, we have Geraldine Rush, followed by Mrs. Wilson.
Good evening. My name is Geraldine Rush. I also live at the Porter Building. They are also a pilot, they're also a pilot at 40 years at 4%. This is the second time that they are proposing a rent increase. The first one was in February 26. Now this is in July 2026. In 2021, the city approved a 9.3 renovation plan along with a long-term payment in lieu of taxes, that's the pilot program, to a 119-year-old cement building. Okay, Redwood was supposed to put money back into the building to sustain healthy living conditions for SSI seniors and SSDI senior residents. For the last 6 months, we've had 3 deaths. 2 people were overdosed due to drug activities because our sliding door is wide open. Homeless people come in there, they spend the night, sleep on, bringing drugs. And then the last 90 days, we had 3 apartment break-ins because they got access to the keys and would come in, and they assaulted 2 residents. We had 3 cars vandalism due to homelessness. This is in the last 90 days because we have no security. And the police has been called over there more than 30 times. And presently, the cement chips are falling on the ramp doorway coming in because it's a 119-year-old building. When it rains, water from our only exit in the front building, cement has been dropping down into the water fixture, and now we can't exit that exit door. We have handicapped people living in wheelchairs and can't walk on the 6th floor, and when the elevators break down, they are immobile. They can't move, nothing at all. And the sliding doors is broke. It's always open. We got homeless people coming in selling drugs. There's no carpet cleaning in the last 6 months, and there's no exterminator for the last 5 months. No screens on the windows, or the blinds are all cracking and falling apart. Management's excuse, there's no money for repairs. Okay, we are in our 4th management in 12 months. No, we don't have a manager right now. Because they come, they do, I don't know what they come and do. And we are also in the 4th Ward too, as well. Also, now they're giving residents keys to go open the laundry room door and take out the trash and open residents are not employed by Redwood as having keys to the apartment. And we have been threatened if we spoke out that we was gonna get evicted or rent increase, and they voiced their concerns. All we ask for is just a clean, healthy living environment for us seniors. Most of us come there because that's our last resort, you know what I'm saying? I like my apartment, but I don't like the activities, what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mrs. Wilson, followed by Elaine Fishoff.
Ooh. Okay. Salutations. Mrs. Wilson, 3rd Ward, South Lansing. Ooh. This is a lot. But anyways, please ride through the Waverly Road. Please ride through the Waverly Road pedestrian and bike pathway and MLK Boulevard sidewalks, where you will notice that there are numerous bushes and trees that need to be cut back. When I am out bike riding, I am constantly bending super low to avoid being scraped by the overgrown trees and bushes. Also, some trees and bushes need to be cut back from the corner intersections because it is impeding the view of being able to safely pass through. Shout out to the Public Service Department for the repairs on my grass when damage was done from the street repairs on Pleasant Grove Road. I propose a Trader's Joe to be put into the Mount Hope Plaza on Mount Hope Road. I paid a visit a few days ago at the Trader's Joe in Okemos, and it is really nice and had reasonable prices. We have a primary election coming up on Tuesday, August the 4th, on August the 4th on the ballot. On August the 4th. And on the ballot, I see tons of proposals for millages. Ooh, as if we need more approval for millages. I just can't, oh my gosh. Voters, please make sure you get out and vote. Your vote truly matters, it really does. But make sure you are putting people in the office that will benefit you and your government. Please do not let anyone or anything keep you from voting. It is your civic duty to do so. If you are concerned about intimidation at the polls, you can always do absentee voting. I need to turn mine in. Oh, and how much time? Okay, for Congress, I endorse William Lawrence. We will, yes, he's very down to earth, and I met him. He's really cool people. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Elaine Fishoff and then Jody Washington.
Good evening, Council. I'm Elaine Fishoff. I'm a Lansing resident and a BWL customer, and my comments will be directed regarding the BWL. BWL is a municipal utility. It's supposed to be not-for-profit, and unfortunately, because it's municipal, it is not governed by the MPSC. There is no oversight under the Lansing ordinances. The BWL is proposing increases in a number of charges, including the rates for residential customers. The rate changes that have occurred over the past 4 years, from October 1st, 2022 to September 30th, 2025, accumulates to 16% increase in 4 years. This present year, BWL is proposing another 2.1% increase. That equates cumulatively to 20% over 5 years. And keep in mind, every year with every increase, even if it's modest, it's a percentage of an ever-growing amount of money. So far, the BWL has made its recommendation for this amount to the board, provided the board with a PowerPoint. The board has approved the rate increase. The board, BWL will next offer public comment. That will take place on only 2 days, August 1st at 10 a.m., and then August 4th, the day of our elections, at 4:30 p.m. I assume that the council will be asked to approve the rate increase at its August 11th council meeting or sometime before October 1st, when it would go into effect. I would contrast the process that applies to BWL with that applies to every investor-owned utility in Michigan. The process under the MPSC requires that a utility must submit documentation, usually running into hundreds of pages, as to its past and current operating data and costs, assumptions regarding supply and demand and other aspects of the utility business, what expenses are increasing, why they're increasing, efforts to minimize costs, and other various information. That document is public. BWL does not compile anything that's public.
Thank you. Next is Jody Washington, followed by Frederick McLaughlin.
Thank you, Jody Washington, and thank you to the 4 of you that voted no on that ordinance. Tamara, I hope you're president of council next year. Something has been bothering me, and I really feel compelled to speak up. There has been a false narrative surrounding the clearing of the homeless encampment in the back 40 in late 2020. I was directly involved in that effort, and much of what is being said today simply is not accurate. Before the encampment was clear, I asked Mayor Short to delay the process for a couple weeks to give anyone who wanted to leave voluntarily more time. He agreed. Every person still living in the encampment was offered shelter, and Advent House arranged for residents' belongings to be safely stored. Unfortunately, once some advocates learned of the planned effort, they opposed the clearing and organized efforts to delay it. The increased attention surrounding the encampment also led to some individuals who had already agreed to accept shelter to change their minds and remain at that site. By that point, the encampment had been a serious public health hazard for months. Mayor Shore had provided large dumpsters, portable toilets in an effort to improve conditions, but human waste, trash, and debris remained throughout the area. There were also reports of women being abused, and tragically, one person died. These were not safe or humane living conditions. As the city proceeded with the planned clearing, some opponents contacted the media and further impeded the city staff's ability to complete the work. In doing so, they unintentionally prolonged the unsafe conditions for those who remained. It was not Mayor Scher who put people at risk. From my perspective, the greater risk came from the delaying of an effort that had been carefully planned to prioritize both safety and dignity. I believe many of those who protested did so with sincere and compassionate intentions, but they were not aware of the extensive measures that had already been taken to provide shelter, protect residents' belongings, and ensure that people were treated with respect. Sometimes people act with the best of intentions, but without all the facts. In those situations, good intentions can unintentionally make it more difficult to achieve the very outcome everyone wants. I can no longer remain silent while hearing a version of these events that does not reflect what I witnessed firsthand. And I have always said the loudest voices in the room are not always filled with the most wisdom and are not always the most accurate. And as I see advocates coming down here week after week about homelessness, they haven't been involved. They don't know the efforts. They don't know the culture of this homeless population. For those of us that have been working in it for a decade or better, we understand and we know what is being done. And again, thank you for not passing that well-intentioned but misguided ordinance.
Thank you. Next, we have Frederick McLaughlin, followed by Ivan Drosty.
Thank you. My name is Fred McLaughlin. When I spoke with you recently, I mentioned people or organizations who, groups that tend to benefit from high housing prices. Governments, homeowners, banks, insurance companies, developers, contractors, land speculators, realtors, pension funds even, and those who don't benefit, which is renters and the poor. I mention those because those groups have inherent in the biases that they have naturally. Governments, for example, are basically taxers of wealth, and so they want to see more wealth around the city built. And so basically what it says is they have a built-in kind of sensitivity, and that sensitivity comes out in wanting or not, well, it's hard to say if it's conscious or not. I think largely it just is there. But so I have to disagree once again with this notion that affordable housing can only be had with subsidized housing. That simply is not true. But the subsidized housing has a lack of sensitivity to it. In fact, it forms a kind of asymmetry between subsidized housing that is actually, as I would term it, subsidized housing is imposed on the neighborhood. It's not of the neighborhood, and that's what I was hearing talked about over here. I think Adam mentioned it, that there was something that was missing in having this subsidized type of housing. But what's missing is that it needs to be of the neighborhood. It needs to be made possible through the changing of things like zoning ordinances. Subsidization simply is not necessary. It has an intention to make large profits. It drives up the cost of all housing because it's based on a national or a statewide market, and local markets are just foregone. And also, it introduces the notion that these subsidies are just free. I mean, subsidies come from somewhere. They represent dollars that aren't spent somewhere else. I mean, I can show you miles and miles of toe catchers in sidewalks throughout the city, and those are not small matters.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Ivan Drosty, followed by Loretta Stanaway.
Ivan Drosty, Ward 3. I caught the last hour or so of the Mod Pod presentation at the Committee of the Whole, so I just wanted to kind of thank Council Members Hussein, Navarez, Martinez, and especially Councilmember Martinez for your line of questioning. It seems to me, at least, that at least some of you are now kind of coming to realize what, I have been fearful of pretty much from the very beginning, which is that this project is being mismanaged. It is completely unacceptable that we will now go through 2 complete winters with possession of these Mod Pod units without actually seeing them deployed. I cannot understand why the simple task of creating an estimate for a timeline is so difficult. When I've asked this in the past, sometimes I've heard the response that, well, there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of applications, we don't know how long it's going to take to get the responses, yada, yada, yada. Today we heard a lot about a construction manager. And I find that very frustrating because why didn't we know that these obstacles existed from the very outset? Why were we given expectations and estimates early on in the process that we then blew straight past? Why is it, now that we're learning about all of the obstacles at play and all the reasons why it's taking so long? Why weren't all these things laid out on the table for us very early on? Why weren't we asking those questions even as we were deliberating the purchase of the Mod Pods? So I find this very frustrating, and one of the, I think probably the most telling moment in the whole presentation was when Councilmember Hussein asked, who's going to be the one to take responsibility for this, right? Who's gonna step up? I found the response or lack thereof to that question very telling. It was nice of the deputy mayor to suggest that the responsibility would fall to Mayor Shore. I'd like to hear that come out of his mouth. Ultimately, somebody's going to have to stand up and say the buck stops here, because right now this project is failing, unfortunately. And as a result, there's going to be 66 people sleeping outside in the winter once again that don't have to. There's one extra detail I'm hoping to get some clarification perhaps on. I think it was suggested, if I understood correctly, that currently the Mod Pods are being stored on private property by some mysterious benefactor who does not wish to be named. That seems odd. So is that indeed the case? And is there anything that this body could do to look into that? Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Loretta Stanaway, followed by Michael Mercer.
All right, I was not planning to have to speak at this time, but I was just flabbergasted by 2 incidences this evening in the conducting of the meeting by our council president, who at one point decided that whether or not he knew if anyone else had comments to make, he said that no one else had comments to make, so he was closing that session. And then the second time was when Mr. Hussein, Councilmember Hussein, was trying to ask questions, and Mr. Spatafor decided that he had some limitations on how long he could question the people who are asking for the public's benefits. Mr. Spatafor, you overstepped your bounds twice tonight. That is not your place in a council meeting to decide when to shut off people's questions or comments. I think you owe the council and the public an apology.
Next is Michael Mercer. All right, then we are completed.
Thank you. At 9:54, with no further business for the council, we are adjourned.
Furious I was not very worried. I knew that it was going to be okay, but